So I'm going to share with you just some simple, practical things that you can do in your life to become more calm and confident. And if we have time, I'm going to lead a very short guided meditation at the end as well. So if you don't know who I am the author of The Anxiety Solution and Raging Girl. I'm a hypnotherapist and a coach, and I have really struggled with anxiety myself in the past. I used to worry about everything from the state of the world to the state of my hair and everything in between. I would get so nervous before meeting someone for the first time that my hands would shake uncontrollably, and it would make it really hard to pick up the drink that I was having with someone, or for the dates, basically. And I once was giving a presentation, and I got up to speak, and suddenly my lungs felt like they were on fire, and it went white in front of my eyes. And I almost felt as if I'd come out of my body and was watching myself give this presentation from the ceiling. So obviously not an ideal situation to be in. And then about 8 years ago, I was working 2 jobs. So I was working day and night and putting loads of pressure on myself, comparing myself to everyone, worrying about everything. And I would get into bed every night after work and just cry because I was so overwhelmed. It was around that time that I came across a quote, and this quote just seemed like the advice that I needed to take on board in my life. And it was, make peace of mind your priority and organise your life around it. And up until that point, everything else had been more of a priority than my mental state. And so I really started to make peace of mind the most important thing. And little by little, I started to become a calmer person, and these days I get to help other people who have experienced anxiety like I have. There we go. Can you see that? I'm just going to share with you some stats about anxiety, basically, just because I think we can feel so alone with it sometimes. 22% of women feel anxious all or most of the time, 15% of men. 60% of women and 54% of men experience imposter syndrome. Do you know what imposter syndrome is? It's when you think that you are a fraud and you're about to get found out at any point. And the only reason that you've got any friends or the job that you've got is because you just want winging it. You've been winging it the whole time. Hands up, who experiences that? Feel like they're a fraud. Okay. So look around and realise how common it is. Hands up, who's experienced anxiety? All of us. So just some stats there about, which I can't actually read here. 80% of British women feel unhappy with their bodies. So it's so common, and I just want you to know that you're not alone with this. And I also want you to know that it's not something that you have to be stuck with forever. It's part of anxiety that will tell, this voice in your head will tell you, you're always going to feel this way. But we are always changing, nothing stays the same, and there is so much scope for us getting better and healing. So this is the quote that I try to live my life by, and really want to invite you to consider if you can start to do that a bit as well. So I don't know if you've heard this example before. It comes from a guy called Stephen Covey, and he apparently was teaching some students about a topic, and he got a big mason jar at the front of the class, and he got some big fist-sized rocks, and he put them into the mason jar. And he asked the students, is the mason jar full? And most people would say, yeah, it looks pretty full. He then reaches under his desk and he gets some pebbles, and he pours those into the mason jar, and the pebbles fill in the gaps in between the big rocks. He then gets some sand, pours that in. He then gets some water and pours that in as well. And then finally, the mason jar, I think we all agree, is full. But if we were to put the pebbles in first, or the sand, or the water, there's no way that those big rocks are going to fit in. So the only way that we can fit everything into the mason jar is if we put the big rocks in first. So I really want you to think of these big rocks as being like your biggest priorities in your life. I'm really thinking that we need to put that in first, rather than thinking of looking after our mental health as an afterthought or something that just gets put to the back of the agenda. Actually putting that in first and trusting that everything else will fit in around it. So I'm going to mention self-care a little bit. I don't like the word self-care, I have to say. It makes me cringe. I think of like bubble baths and Enya, and I don't find that very relaxing. But we'll think of another word for it. You can call it whatever you want. And I think what's important is that self-care doesn't need to be a certain way. It's whatever feels nourishing to you, whatever makes you feel taken care of. And it might be having a bath, or it might be just going to bed really early. Sometimes I like to go to bed at like 8:30 at night. That's my self-care. So really thinking about what that is for you, and remembering that when we look after ourselves, when we nourish ourselves, we're so much better for everyone else in our lives. So when you take care of yourself, it actually benefits everyone else. So it's the opposite of selfish when you do this. So coming back to the idea of putting those big rocks in first, what would that actually look like? So my suggestion is that you actually schedule in time for yourself. Schedule in that early night, schedule in your meditation in the morning, or having a walk at lunchtime. Put that in your diary and trust that everything else will fit in around it. So my invitation for you after this talk today is to actually go ahead and put something in your diary, some time that's just for you, and make it official, because when it's in the diary, it's so much more likely to happen, isn't it? And other things will fit in around it. So a lot of us will tell ourselves, myself included, I don't have time to look after my mental health. I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to rest. But actually it's not an issue of time, because if I were to give you £100 for every time that you meditated in the morning, you'd do it, wouldn't you? You'd find the time, you'd make the time, you'd like rearrange your life to make sure that would happen. And so if you're saying to yourself, I don't have time to look after myself, try saying the truth, which is looking after myself isn't a priority right now, or looking after my mental health isn't a priority right now. And just see how that sits with you. And if that doesn't feel right, then it might be about just really looking at trying to move that up the priorities list. And there's a famous quote, I think from the Buddha, I think he said this: if you don't have time to meditate, you must have a lot of time to feel like shit. I'm sure the Buddha did say that. Okay, so I want you to imagine that your friend has had a bad day. They come around to your house, they missed their train this morning to work, they got in trouble for being late, they ate a ton of ice cream and they're supposed to be being sugar-free, and they're really, really upset. What do you say to them? Do you say, "You idiot, I can't believe you've done this again. This is so typical of you"? Hands up if you would say that. Hands up if you'd say that to yourself if you had had a bad day. Be honest. Okay, so about 90% of us. So we know instinctively, don't we, that if we were to say that to a friend, they wouldn't be all fired up and motivated, inspired, and ready to have a great day the following day. It would make them feel terrible. So why is it that we think that it's helpful for us to speak to ourselves in that way? We all have a voice in our heads. And I always say this to my clients, I always say, how do you speak to yourself? Because we don't always realise that we have this inner monologue that is quite negative and quite critical all day, every day. Sometimes it's called the shitty committee. Sometimes it's called the mean girl, the inner critic. But I want to just invite you to really bring some more awareness into how you're speaking to yourself for the rest of the day and for tomorrow if you can as well, because awareness is the first step to changing that. And these are just some things that I've said to myself. My inner critic has said to me, "You're ugly, you're useless, there's something wrong with you." Has anyone else's inner critic said that to themselves? There's something wrong with you. I don't know what it is, but there's something. So when you're speaking to yourself, I want to just invite you again to put what you say to yourself through the friend filter. Just asking yourself, would I say this to a friend? And if the answer's no, turn it into something more constructive, because there's even evidence to show that When we beat ourselves up, it saps our motivation, and we're less likely to try. We're more likely to give up. So it really doesn't benefit us to do that. Okay, I mean, hands up who experiences Monday? So Monday is that point on a Sunday, about 4 p.m, where it stops feeling like Sunday, and the anxiety of Monday starts to loom. Who experiences this? Okay. I know this to be a fact, that this is very common, because on my website, which is all about anxiety, there's a massive spike at 4 p.m. on a Sunday of people furiously Googling their anxiety symptoms. So what we're doing in moments like Sunday is we are imagining the future, and we're imagining things going wrong. We're imagining the worst. We're thinking about all the emails, or the meeting that we've got to do, or the commute that we've got to make on Monday. And actually this causes us to go into Monday feeling tense, maybe dreading how the day is going to go. And actually I'm suggesting that we do the opposite of this, and instead of imagining what could go wrong, we start to imagine what could go right. And this is something that a lot of top athletes do. So Usain Bolt and Michael Phelps have talked a lot about how they imagine their race, and they imagine themselves feeling calm, feeling strong, feeling confident, and they almost play a movie in their mind of how they want that to go. So what would it be like to imagine your Monday going exactly as you want it to go? Or any other situation in the future that you're nervous about, or that you want more confidence for? So it could be about a date, it could be a presentation, it could be a meeting, it could be a social situation, a wedding. Really playing a movie in your mind of how you want it to go, feeling the feelings, thinking the thoughts, noticing what you'll feel in your body, and imagining that going right. And if we have time, I'd like to do a very short visualization about this in a minute. Okay, so the final thing I want to talk about is confidence. And I think that confidence isn't all it seems, because it's very easy to look at people that we presume must be really confident and assume that they just have everything figured out. They're probably born confident, they don't struggle with things. And yet when we peel under the surface, we realise that that isn't the case. And so people like Adele, she's amazing. We think she'd be really confident on stage, but she's talked about how she has been known to projectile vomit before some of her performances. There's an inspirational speaker called Mel Robbins, and she did a TED Talk, and she seemed super chill doing her TED Talk. She said later that she was having a panic attack throughout the whole talk. Michelle Obama experiences imposter syndrome, and even Beyonce is a perfectionist, which means that she doesn't feel good enough and is always striving for more. So what I'm suggesting is that actually what looks like confidence is actually often courage. And I think we use this sometimes as an excuse to tell ourselves, I'm not confident, I'm not like them, I can't do that, that's not for me. And actually, what if it was okay to be scared and to take action anyway? What if having self-doubt was a normal part of doing things and not something that you can use to hold yourself back? And so I really like to reframe confidence as just being willing to give things a try and being kind to yourself in the process. And there's something that I'm doing with people called the Brave New Girl Challenge, or the Brave New You Challenge. Don't resonate with girl. And it's all about challenging yourself to do something that's outside of your comfort zone. And has anyone ever been to a women's circle? It's basically where loads of women get together, sit in a circle, talk about things and cry. And I was at a women's circle recently, and it was kind of quite a deep topic. We were talking about shame. So shame is quite hard to talk about. And we were in the circle and we had to decide when it was that we wanted to share our story of shame. And the person leading the women's circle said, if your heart is racing, that means it's your turn to speak. And how often do we think to ourselves, if I'm scared, if my heart is racing, that's my cue to run away. That's my cue to leave or keep quiet or avoid that situation. And what if instead, if something gets you, if something makes you a little bit nervous, if your heart starts to race, what if that was actually your heart saying, this is, my chance to speak? And I had this experience recently. Has anyone ever done karaoke? Sober karaoke? I haven't drunk any alcohol for a year. I was at a restaurant in America. We were doing a road trip a couple of months ago, and it's 9:30 at night on a Friday, and we just paid the bill, just about to leave, and suddenly the waiter brings out a microphone and announces that Friday night is karaoke night. And at that moment, my heart starts to race. And I'm thinking, why is my heart racing? We're going to go home. I'm not going to do karaoke. Why is my heart racing? And just to give you some background, I used to love singing in front of people. I would sing to anyone all the time. And at the age of 15, I had a boyfriend. And he said to me one day, you think you're so good at singing, but you're actually not. And I was devastated. And I didn't sing in front of anyone for about 17 years after that. So my heart is racing in this restaurant, and I think, this is my heart saying, I need to go and do this thing. And so I got my bit of paper, wrote down the Adele song that I was going to sing. What a bold choice, Adele. And my hand was shaking as I handed it into the man, the maestro, with the microphone. And I sang my song in front of 40 strangers, completely sober, in this random Mexican restaurant in Virginia. And I felt amazing after that, and it just reminded me about how, when we do something that we're a bit afraid to do, we gain so much trust for ourselves. We realise, I don't die when I do this. I actually survive. And the next time that we do something that's really scary, it's so much easier. So I am inviting all of you, and as soon as you're all here, you all are, not obliged to do this, but if your heart is racing thinking about, God, I've got to make that phone call now, or I've got to email that person, or I've got to start sharing my art, or whatever it is for you that is something that's small outside of your comfort zone. Maybe it's going live on Instagram stories, or maybe it's asking someone that you know online if they want to meet up in real life to take that friendship to the next level. So I'd love you to let me know if you decide to take me up on this challenge, what it is that you're going to be doing. Come and find me on Instagram and let me know. And the thing that I'm always reminding myself is this quote, fear shrinks when you walk towards it. And fear grows when you run away. The more we avoid stuff, the scarier it gets. If we walk towards it, it shrinks. Okay, so we've got a few minutes, and I'm going to lead a 3-minute guided visualization. So what I want you to think about is, what is a future situation that you have been nervous about or anxious about that you'd like to imagine going really well? So it could be a specific situation, or it could just be a day in your life. So just invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable to do so, having your legs and arms uncrossed if that's comfortable for you, and just starting to take some deep breaths. And as you're breathing deeply, just allowing your body to settle into your seat. Just noticing how any sounds around you can be a reminder just to allow your body to settle and to feel more comfortable there. And just finding that you can allow your arms and your hands to feel limper and looser. Just allowing them to feel heavier. Almost as though your arms and your hands are made of lead. You feel more and more comfortable there. And then just allowing your legs to really switch off. All the muscles, the nerves, the fibers in your legs. Feeling limper and looser, more and more comfortable as they feel heavier there. Just finding that as I count from 3 down to 1, you can notice yourself drifting a little bit deeper into this experience. 3, drifting to 2, and 1. Just allowing yourself to drift a little bit deeper. And just finding that now, you can notice that there's a dial in your mind. And this dial relates to how confident you feel. And you just begin to turn up that dial. And as you turn up that dial, you're tapping into every positive thought that you've ever had about yourself. You're tapping into all of your valuable experiences, all that you've learned in your life, all your own inner wisdom, calling on all of that as you turn up that dial. That's good. And I'd just like you to begin to take yourself a little into the future. So maybe it's a few days in the future, or weeks, or months in the future. And I'd like you to notice that in this future time, you're feeling so much more calm, so much more grounded and self-assured. And feel those feelings in your body. Notice the relaxation. Feel your shoulders drop. Notice this confident energy in your body. And notice the positive thoughts that you're thinking. Telling yourself that you can do this, that all is well, that you're in control. Noticing the way that you're holding yourself with confidence, with self-assurance. Noticing what you're doing and how you do it. What you say and how you say it. Just noticing yourself handling that situation exactly as you'd like it to go. So just by imagining this, you're planting this seed in your mind. Is going to get to work on making this your reality. So you can bring those good feelings with you as I count you back from 3 to 2 and 1, and opening your eyes and coming back when you're ready. Okay, so thank you everyone. Yeah, let me know if you decide to take me up on the Brave New You challenge. I'd love to hear how you're getting on. And yeah, imagine what could go right. Start imagining what could go right.